The CUB Board of Directors meeting is called to order. Seeing that there is no one present for public comment, we'll move on to the approval of minutes, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Similarly, vouchers are before us. I'll ask for a motion for approval of vouchers.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anything? Anybody have any questions? Anything that jumps out at anybody that they want to ask anything about? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval for the monthly reports for September. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We continue to have a very positive financial outlook in all of our departments. That we're very pleased with, most particularly our water and sewer department, where we were gauging the impact of the adjustments that were made in order to have a more positive trend in our net income or change in net assets, and that continues to be the case. Electric continues to meet expectations in a very healthy way, but if I will ask our Director of Accounting and Finance to make comment on the particulars of the statements and anything you might have to say on the great job that we're doing. Go ahead.
Thank you. For the month of September, the electric department had a net income of $350,000. Year to date, our differences were $82,000 ahead of the forecast, which is all good. And our expenses, as you can see, are about $73,000 less than we had anticipated for this point in time, and that's the main driver in where our net income is ahead by holding those expenses. In the water and sewer department, the water and sewer department had a net income of $99,960 for the month of September. Sales in the water year to date are $17,000 ahead of the forecast. Sewer is $12,000 behind. Our expenses are $76,000 less than anticipated. A lot less pump maintenance and things going on this year. We've seen a little bit of slowdown in the water and sewer industrial sales. I think this GM strike's had a little bit of impact on what they're doing up there at I-75, but still the water department's $83,000 ahead of the forecast at this point in time. Both departments are doing quite well, and that's all I have unless you have specific questions.
Dudley, how long do we have to demonstrate this sort of trend on the water side before we have no concerns about the state coming and talking to us?
Well, more than likely, when they get the audits for the year, that's gonna raise a flag, and they'll ask me some questions, and then I'll answer them, and hopefully that'll satisfy them. But once they see this year's back to the black, they won't have any problem at all. My son's going through this a little bit at Harriman right now, and they're not in near as good a position as we are. They've got debt and all that they're dealing with, so they've asked him to do a rate study. I don't think we're going to have to do that with zero debt and the amount of cash that we have, and I just don't see that, because I talked to them prior to last year to talk about that, and they said, yeah, they said it raises the flag, and then we ask questions from there, but I don't anticipate any issue at all.
Okay.
Any other questions? I have a request. Is it possible? Can you email Gail Cook at the city this report? Last city council meeting, I thought that we were doing that, and they didn't have it in their packet, and I never had asked
Sure.
for us to do it, so I told them that we would.
Sure, I can do that. That's no problem.
Any other questions? Mr. General Manager, we need a motion for approval.
Yes, sir.
I ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second for approval of the monthly reports. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Project status reports, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, sir. We continue to track 4 projects, 3 in electric and 1 in water and sewer. These are not new to you. These are ongoing. The update that I can give you is that our Phase 1 on West Wolf Valley upgrade is now fully complete in construction. We'll now wait for the payroll overhead stores and transportation to be allocated to that before that work order is closed out. And everything else is moving along according to schedule and time. We're very comfortable with that. On the water department, the collection system at Mariners Point, we're just now going through allowing them to do some runtime to where we calibrate with them. And so once that runtime is over, all of the construction is complete in that. They've got one more thing to do on the punch list, but that should be, we anticipate that to be completely wrapped up this month. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, on the project status.
All right. Move on to the approvals of the purchase orders, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, sir, thank you. If you'll look in your packet, you should have 2 purchase orders that I'm going to offer and recommend that we purchase. First is the transformers. That's 160 transformers. This is pretty standard buy for us. And what we do is we bid that out several different ways as a package, and then we bid it out by transformer size and capacity. So when we get the bids back, we tabulate that, and that is an exhaustive tabulation because we look at line losses and things like that to determine the best possible purchase that will make the most financial sense in the long run. And then we cherry pick, which is not a favorite of our distributors, but we do that because we save money. We cherry pick this time, and we've got although we're paying a little more in bid price on some of these items, we see an evaluated savings of over $36,000. So as you can see, the recommended is through Stewart Irby and Wesco and DECO. So and United Sales Agency. So we're looking at $115,135 in transformers, and that is what we recommend that the board approve.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions? Seems pretty straightforward to me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'll turn your attention to the 161 three-phase circuit switcher, we were fortunate enough to get 3 bids on that. And these are all from bidders and manufacturers that we're very, very comfortable with. We're recommending Ashby Company at $58,301, $301 be awarded that bid, and you'll see that is not the low bid. They didn't meet the design specifications, but I like to put that number in there for you because we did get 3 bids, and unfortunately that didn't meet the specs, so we don't consider that. So really we're down to Yoder and Ashby, and Yoder's low bid, and that's what we recommend.
So we have a previous motion, and then I would ask that we have a motion that includes both approval of purchase orders A and B.
I can amend my motion to that effect.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, on to the approval of work order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Work order 936S. It is the wastewater treatment plant improvements to the sludge processing building. This work order encompasses, and where we do our sludge press, we've got steel beams that essentially hold these presses up. And because of the pH and what they're dealing with there, it's a very corrosive. And over time, the walls and the paint and the steel itself become diminished in their tensile strength. And we recognize that. We put it in the budget in order to get that painted and the steel replaced. And that was at $60,000 in the budget. Then, as we got to bidding that out, we made a determination that I wanted to beef that steel up a little bit more than what was originally thought and designed to do, and we did that. And then the paint, we wanted a different level of paint. So that number, although we're looking at $59,117, essentially, which is the contractor. Once we put the engineering to that, which is $20,000, we always like to put a 10% contingency in there. We're at up to $87,000. But what we've done is we negotiated with the low bidder, which is Rick Cox out of Harriman. And you can see that at $59,000 as opposed to $107,000 and $173,000, it's not as much of a racehorse deal as that appears to be, because we pulled the painting out, and we're now going to paint that ourselves because we thought it was just a lot of money, and this is something that we can do, and that way we can purchase the paint. The grade that we want, it's a special paint that you put on there, and Rick will be doing the steel construction for us. So that's why there's a disparity in the total bid, because we pulled some of that out in order to do it ourselves. So we recommend Rick Cox Construction as part of this work order, and I'll be asking for authorization to approve his low bid here right after. Hopefully we get approval on this work order, but it is inclusive of that contractor, Rick Cox.
So I hear a motion for approval of work order 936S. Motion in a second. Any discussion? Look straightforward again, and if there's one thing that I strongly value, it's capital maintenance of our system. KUB seemed like they neglected some things, and it really came back to bite them.
And fined. They not only had to do it, they were fined along with that, which is not a great way to spend ratepayers' money.
Yeah, I see this as just an essential part of what we do. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. On to item 9, Mr. General Manager.
This, as we discussed as part of the work order, this represents 3 bids on this steel construction work. We negotiated with the low bid, Mr. Cox, and pulled that painting out. So we're recommending the low bid of $59,117 to do this structural rehabilitation on our sludge press building.
Do I hear a motion to award the bid?
So move.
Got one, I got a motion, need a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Greg, a quick question.
Yes,
Have you ever explored ways to neutralize the environment so it doesn't eat up everything around it?
For that size because it's such a big building, it would be because they do have pH neutralizing chemicals, but we, along with everybody else, have found that the process of trying to keep that correct is not cost benefit in time that because you can't keep it all out. And we've got, we think, are hoping is 20-year paint. That's what's the upgrade from the level of paint that we had. And I doubt anything will ever meet or exceed the expectation of what it's warranted for. I got a roof that's supposed to be 30 years, I'm replacing it. So, I mean, all we get is free paint, you know, I mean, if that's the case. So, it's not like we're not cognizant of that, it's just that there doesn't seem to be an appropriate application for that.
All right. Any other questions? On to item number 10.
Wolf Tree proposal, we annually work with Wolf Tree, and they've been a real positive partner with us for a very long time. This hourly rate schedule that they have proposed is a little bit outside of what they would normally contractually, the terms of the contract would be. And for that reason, I wanted to bring it to you. I've looked at this line by line. We have negotiated line by line, and we've come up with what I consider a fair and appropriate hourly rate schedule for these crews. We're trying to fully staff what we currently have now is 9 right-of-way crews through Wolf, and this hopefully we'll be able to. This will allow them enough flexibility to get the proper and appropriate personnel in to flesh out these crews that we have. So I recommend, based on that, I recommend that the board approve this hourly rate structure and give me the authority to execute the contract with Wolf based on these new proposed billing rates.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion, is there a second?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Anybody have any questions?
And I read the email and I forgot, but what's the net effect is this gonna be? I mean, what's the cost total?
7.1, I believe it is.
Okay. So when you translate that into dollars, you got a feel for what that's gonna do, or?
Depending on how many crews they run and how many things
Okay.
we spend.
That's fine.
It's over $1 million a year.
That you pay them?
That's correct.
So 70,000 maybe, or
I'm
whatever.
thinking more like 110.
Sure, okay.
Now, how long do we lock this in for?
1 year.
1 year.
Versus the alternative, Greg, being,
To rebid,
and that would be
in my opinion.
disadvantageous. Any other questions?
Are we billed based on this whole package every time, or do we get pieces and parts depending on what they use?
Oh, it's what they use. It's by the hour. I mean, it's who shows up and who doesn't.
So they only bill us for the individual
That's
pieces
right.
they're using?
That's correct. But when they use it, that's the rate that they'll go by.
Any others? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to item 11.
Annually, we go through a calculation that is checked by TVA, and Dudley and I have been here combined a long time, and we've never made an error since the late 70s in this calculation, because it's a ponderous thing. When VisiCalc came out, we put it to that, then Lotus 1, 2, 3. So we have now graduated all the way up to Excel, and we do this, so we've had some political entities wanting to come in and go through that process with us because they would like to somehow find an error to increase their share, and they've been unsuccessful in that. We are very confident, and we have got TVA's review of this, that this is an appropriate tax equivalent that uses the maximum allowable rate to our political entities, and because of where we are located, it's allocated through the counties and the other cities, municipalities, and then the remainder of this maximum goes to our own city of Clinton, which is by far, as you can see, the lion's share of the tax equivalent formula. So for Clinton, it's a 0.82% or just over $13,000 increase. This is all tied to what the net depreciated value is that we have plant literally in these taxing districts. And that's why it can go down, because unless we're putting sufficient capital in to offset the depreciation for that plant in that taxing district, then you can see a dip in that. It's also tied to losses, and it's tied to revenue, and I mean there's a lot to it. But unless you want Dudley to go through that ponderous formula, I offer to you what I am very confident is accurate and correct. These tax equivalents to be paid out to these taxing districts.
Does this require a motion?
It does, yes, sir.
Do I hear a motion approving the recommendation?
I make that motion.
Motion, is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Any discussion, questions? There are no questions, no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. To other business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like for you to put on your calendars the Christmas lunch is Tuesday, December the 3rd. You, Steve, you need to make a note of this, because this is like one of the 2 free things that you get for being on this board.
Get free harassment.
Oh, yes, that's always in abundance too. So please put that down.
What time on the 3rd?
It's noon, but you can come a little early if you want. You stay a little late if you want. The food is always good, and I think the fellowship is always good. The community safety event was held Saturday. The fire department and we have an employee here that's married to one of our firemen, and he inquired whether or not that we wanted to participate, have an opportunity to participate, and we thought, well, that's a great idea. Again, it gets us out into the community more, and we had a fairly new line truck that wasn't dirty, and we spruced it up, and then we brought. We had a couple of our linemen out there, and with the kids, this is a hot stick that they're using, and what they
It always open for you, buddy.
I'm sorry, Dudley. What they're doing is they're essentially opening and closing a relay and a transformer, and they're seeing how all of that works, and it was very well received, and I appreciate the invitation. And we are expecting an invitation next year, and we will participate again. And as a result of this, the Anderson County Fair has an opportunity for us to do a display, a safety display. And I've worked it out to where we can rent this display. Comes in on a trailer, and it's got transformer banks. And it shows how electricity works in the transformer banks and how it goes down the line. It's a very informative piece of equipment, and we're going to have that come in so we can be represented in part of our Anderson County Fair next year. So again, our efforts to that thug that you see there in the ball cap, that's Ernie Bowles' son, so you'll know he's a real piece of work. But we really do appreciate him a lot. All of our boys out there, I think, do a great job, and they're great ambassadors, I think, for who we are and what we represent here. So I wanted to share those with you.
Very positive.
I want to let you know that the audits, financial audits, are finished, and our auditors have those, and they're clean. What we want them to do is finish the audit on the pension, which now they're working on this month, I understand, Dudley?
Yeah.
And once they can get that squared away, and the timing of that, I don't generally like to bring them in December, but I'll have them come in January, assuming that they're all finished with that, and we'll bring them in, and that way they can present to the board the financial audits and the pension audit all at the same time. But I just want you to know those audits are in and clean. And we get those to the city, Zach,
Okay.
Gail down there.
Yes, yes.
For a point of information, since it just happened yesterday, and if you remember the storm that we had several weeks ago, by the way, we lost 19 poles. I was out, we had trees down everywhere. It was the most significant storm to hit Clinton in over 5 years. So for us, it was a big deal, even though it was very targeted. We apparently were on the wrong piece of wood on the alley, because it just rolled right up and nailed us. I think we did a good job getting everybody back on, but it was a challenge.
And if I may interject, I had a Steve Combs moment in that storm. A tree came down in my mom's house on the corner of her house, adjacent to it. He clipped part of it. And the guys come out and got it all kind of cut off for us real quick and had power back restored. Had to replace a weatherhead and had everything back up and running in 7 hours.
Yeah.
From the time they took the power down to the time I had to get the electric guys to come out of Oak Ridge and help me out, but everything went back on. They had our street back on. I really appreciate all y'all's help. I had my shirt on as opposed to Steve, but yeah, but them boys were out there working in the rain already. I mean, it wasn't half hour and they were already out there working down the street. So I really appreciate all the hard work there. So
I thank you for saying that. And
I appreciate the
I'll pass
city
that
for
on.
picking up my trees this week. So.
Good place to live.
Anything else, General Manager?
I do have 2 or 3 more things, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to be ponderous here. We had a Flizzr event yesterday, and I again, because it's so timely, and I've got the information right here in front of me, and it continues to reiterate, and it gives Mr. Chappell an opportunity to get a sense of how this is working, because no one else is doing this. Our Lake City sub had an event. We had what we call a relief device on the transformer bank, and it's designed to take things out if it sees a problem on the transformer, because they're $700,000. So it's designed to pop out if there's a problem. Apparently there was moisture in that, and that's what triggered the event. So that brought the sub down, and that brought out 3,457 customers. Now, that happened at 2:10 yesterday. In 24 seconds, because we automatically, without any human intervention, the system goes out and then looks to balance. How can we draw from these different circuits in order to restore power? In 24 seconds, we had 1,218 customers restored. In 37 seconds, we had 1,344 customers restored. And in 1 minute and 35 seconds, we had the remaining 895 customers restored. So everybody was back in power within 1 minute and 35 seconds. And that was all done without anybody touching anything. The system all did that, so it's working really well. This was, by the way, phase 2, because phase 1 only worked with circuits. Then we wrote the code and designed for substations. What if a sub goes out? Now, which is it's different than trying to bring a circuit back online. It's bringing a cold sub back online. So it was much more intensive, and we took lessons learned from our first phase of writing the code, and now we've got all of our subs sitting on FLISR, and this is a result of that phase 2 of what we did for the FLISR system, and it certainly helped those folks on a cold day getting service back put on. I want to make you aware, as you may already be, water and sewer rates are a constant problem within our industry everywhere. The front page of the Courier, I noticed that they're looking at a 22 to 25% increase in their water and sewer rates. Not a surprise. I also then, it popped up Nashville. They've got a multi-year increase that's going to go out every year until 2025, because they're so far behind the ball that in order to catch up, they've got to really pound these rates. I'm telling you, we are not behind the ball at all in anything, and that's why we have no debt, and that's why we have low rates, and we are going to continue to look better everywhere, because everybody's going to go up, and we're not. That's the plan, unless we need to, and then I'll tell you why. City Council meets, well, before we go, you should have copies of this. This is a product of a lot of work.
Yep.
You know, we think it's really good. It's concise. It's a living document. So when we get feedback from developers or we see any wordsmithing that needs to be done, that will do that. This really doesn't need an approval by you, but I wanted to give you all a copy of it. This is what we'll be handing out to anybody developing on our system. Within the 6 counties, most of that will be electric, and anything within Clinton, it'll also be water and sewer too.
Can you do me a favor? Will you print off extra copies and send them to Roger to
Sure.
have for City Council?
Just like this.
Just like this, because
I know you've been wearing it yourself.
They've been wanting for a long time, and I know Steve had some questions about it, but
How many copies do you need, Zach?
7.
We'll send them 10.
There you go. That's nice. I think this is what this board has been asking for, and I think this will go a long way to.
Well, we're going to put this up on our website also, you know. I wanted to get my picture there, right there, and I just had too much negative feedback for that.
And could you send, I don't know, how many copies you deem fit to Rick Meredith too at the chamber?
Yeah, well, yes. The answer is yes, I can do that. But if there's any development, we really want to get face to face, which is like we like to hand those out, and that way.
If you could just get maybe one for Rick to see.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So he can be aware.
Absolutely, because he's a great partner in what we're trying to do. So I mean, we could even educate him up some, and to make sure that that the verbiage, the audibles go out.
And I agree with you saying. They need to come here.
We need them here.
I get it.
We need them here.
You need to come here. It starts here. I just think it'd be nice if somebody happened to go to the wrong place,
Yeah,
Rick
right.
can say.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. We'll do that. Now, the city council is meeting Tuesday the 19th. That's next Tuesday at 2:30. And what's on their plate is there is a request for an annexation. And in that annexation, there are some unique, it's unique in what they want to do. So they've asked Cub to participate in that and help them, because some of this area is not their expertise, and it specifically deals with water and sewer and how that, what they're trying to do, which is unique anywhere that I know of. So there's no utility that I know of that deals with homeowners associations, and there's no one that I know anywhere that deals with these multiples that they're trying to do. So the city is a little bit at a loss for relying on expertise, and I think they've talked with MTS, and I think that they're going to ask the ACWA to participate, and they'll be very happy to, although the last time I talked to him yesterday, I hadn't received any invite on that. So that may be something that you
Okay,
can check on.
I'll check with the city, make sure
Now,
everybody gets
I
the proper
have-
invitation.
Prepared, in preparation for that, I have been working on a PowerPoint that and because it's very much effective about what we do, and I thought that I would offer those who wanted to take some time after the board meeting. I can run through the draft that I have for you, but it's going to take, 20 minutes if you've got 20 minutes or so. And that way you can get a sense of where I'm going, and maybe I can get some direction from those here if you think I need to redirect some of this. It's not finished, and you'll see some of the verbiage as I look through it. I've already seen some changes I'm going to make, but it gives you a good sense of what's going on. So that's what I have, Mr. Chairman.
I am, I will ask Roger to make sure, the city manager of Clinton, to
Get with
formally
Larry
extend
Clouse.
invites to make sure everybody understands that they are invited and required.
Is it like a true city council meeting for consideration, or is it like information only?
It is a workshop.
Workshop, okay.
So it is open to the public, and I also, if you are available, I would encourage all board members to attend, because it is very relevant to what we've been doing for the past ongoing year. And you very well may be asked questions yourself if you were there. So it deals with some of our residential development, and I think everybody wants to do the right thing. Everybody wants to see Clinton grow. But we also want to have our eyes wide open about what we're agreeing to, and want to make sure it's in the best interest of all involved. So 2:30
On the 18th?
on the 19th, I believe.
Tuesday, the 19th.
Where is it?
It'll be at it'll be at City Hall, in the City Council auditorium. I don't know what that room's actually called.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any comments, questions, concerns? Vice Chair?
I just wanted to compliment you and your team for these. I think that's been a long journey to get to this, and I know that's a lot of work and a lot of effort on your all's part, so thank you. I
It
think they look
was
good.
good for us to go through that process, because it forced us to look from through the eyes of a developer, and the language that it's conveyed, how that language is put out there, and what I think we've improved our ability to communicate what we want and why we want it and how we want it. So it was a very good process, I think.
But the end result is wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, the thing that seems to be in the news a little bit lately about TVA proposing Bull Run as an ash storage dump, is that going to affect what you've been working on as far as industrial?
Well, it will. I met with Jeff. Yes, just time gets away. Tuesday, Monday, this week, in in Franklin, and we're going to talk more about that. That is on their radar, and I'm going to do everything I can to see that that doesn't
I
happen.
don't think that will be a good thing for.
It will not be a
County
good
before they
thing.
do
I don't know that that I could carve out an industrial park. I mean, that will be, stakes going down the hill is what I always say. You know, as you're sliding down the hill, you know, you try to stake into something. That will be my stake in the side of the hill. If they want to move towards that, then I would want to move to where, how can we carve out an industrial park that is outside of the scope of whatever that it is they want to do. But I don't want the thing anywhere, because a lot of these green industries, I mean, that we do all we could to get our silver, you know, on what we do here, because some industries care about whatever level that you're at. So I don't want anything, but that's on the radar.
I think that would be a thing for city council to get involved in, if they could influence TVA to go elsewhere.
I agree, but I think general manager probably has the most.
I am in such good shape.
But I agree, and I think it's with Mayor Frank and
Right.
Commissioner Wandell
And we'll get Oak Ridge too.
Yes,
see,
yes, absolutely.
You know,
Unified front.
We've got a great working relationship with our friends at Oak Ridge, because it affects our whole region. It'll affect our whole region. But we're very fortunate to have as much access, I guess is a good word, to the decision makers, not only with Jeff Lash, but with the TVA board. We have a lot of political capital, and we're going to try to spend that in the appropriate place.
Good question. Any others? Well, General Manager, do you have any
Thank
safe,
you, no, sir.
safe grounds?
Do not.
All right. For those that would like to stay to see the slideshow, you may. Other than that, this meeting is adjourned.